What's up, you guys? Sean Ross, managing editor, Fightful.com, FightfulWrestling.com. You know the drill. It's the Weekender, October 12th. Again, let the people know that you all watch this show. Let them know that you like any certain part of it, whether it be the Impact, Lucha Underground, BTE, NWA, ROH coverage, any of that. Just help get the word out. We're looking to expand and really add to this service. I want to keep giving you all more stuff. Every time I add something to Fightful, I weigh whether it should be a select feature or weigh whether it should be a Fightful feature. And I'm very happy that we've added a lot to this subscription service, from the alternate fight commentary to just a lot of cool stuff. The Russo reveals, wasn't sure if those would ever see the light of day, but you all really seem to be liking those. So check them out. Let's go ahead and talk about this week's shows. It's a big week for Impact, and they announced a little bit more of their card, and they had their Go Home Impact show this week. But they also got some unfortunate news. They are moving to 10 p.m. Eastern on Pop TV. That sounds terrible. I don't know how long this deal lasts. Wouldn't be surprised if it were up in a couple of months. That seems like the type of thing that happens when a deal is expiring. I'm not reporting that. That is complete speculation on my behalf, but it seems awfully familiar, doesn't it? Seems like something that they've been through a few times. And not the time you want that news right before this type of show. Let's go ahead and talk about the show itself. Allie goes to Father James Mitchell. And after some back and forth, Father James Mitchell can still cut a promo, by the way. He's still very good at that. But he says that he'll help her get into the nether realm. I am so done with all this. I am so done with the rip-off Lucha Underground shit. There was a column on PW Torch the other day where someone talked about the bad, ridiculous booking in Impact Wrestling. Yeah, I'm with you. Some of the booking in Impact Wrestling has been the worst that I've seen in a long, long time. The benefit is they're able to keep some of their people, maybe not some of the others, but just beyond bad, it's not interesting. I'm not interested in Sunday's show. I'm not excited about Sunday's show. I'm excited to cover it because I like talking to you guys about wrestling, but I'm not excited to watch this show. I'm not excited to see what Allie finds in the NetherRealm. I'm not excited to see where that storyline goes next. I'm not interested in it. It's just not there. Am I optimistic that morale in the company is better? Yeah, because I've been told as much, but at least people are getting paid. There's all that. But man, some of this booking has been atrocious. Grado faces Triple A's Grado and Maximo. Maximo tries to kiss Grado, which is assault, by the way. Is that the rule that sexual assault is technically okay if it happens in a wrestling match, because you're assuming you're going to get assaulted anyway? That's the case. I do not feel okay with intergender wrestling, or really any number of matches. But Maximo does hit a nice suicide headbutt, but Maximo kisses and pins Grado. They hug and dance. Kira was a nice one to have on these shows. Not Kiera Hogan, it's Kira, the Mexican wrestler. Went a little too heavy on the leg slapping early, but man, her and Tessa had a good match, and Tessa is special. I say it every week. She reverses a Rana into a post bomb, a turnbuckle post, power bomb, that is. Kira's corner offense is great. She went with the elbow, a sweep, and a drop kick, and made it just look really, really great. She was on the same page as Tessa so much in this match. Tessa hits a draping flatliner and then wins with the buzzsaw DDT. Everything that she does just screams out to me that she is a main event player. To me, Tessa Blanchard is the most must-watch person on that roster because not a lot of other people have her. if they could get her a good co-star, essentially, she should be headlining pay-per-views right now. She is the most interesting thing about Impact Wrestling, and I don't think it's even close. I don't think there's even a discussion. She's real good. Real good. Rich Swann cuts a pretty okay promo backstage, but he reveals that Willie Mack is his partner. And Matt Sydal is guiding Ethan Page. That's the story. And he wanted to guide Rich Swann. And Rich Swann says, yeah, this person's on my level. He has my charisma. I think maybe the word charisma in that regard, when you're talking about yourself to some degree, should not exist in pro wrestling. You never want to, that's a bad look. You never want to say, I am really charismatic, because who are you trying to convince? That's always my thing with Johnny Impact, who I interviewed this week, by the way, and is legitimately a remarkably charismatic guy off camera. He is so charming and so good to talk to. I could have interviewed him for 4 hours. But I don't buy it when it's like all that put in there. I don't know. Trevor Lee, Jack Evans, Puma King, Petey Williams. There is a Mexican leg sweep. Ha ha ha. I get it, Josh. Petey Williams looks like he never missed a moment. He's way smaller than Lee, too. There were a couple of spots in this match that were rough on Jack Evans' part. For one, he stood on Petey Williams' testicles while basing himself to do a flip. I don't think he meant to do that. And if he did, he was being a real dickhead, but that is catch smack territory, and he knows better than that. He's been wrestling for 15 years. He was my first exposure to Ring of Honor, actually. The other highlights of this match was him recovering and hitting a great kick on Puma, his rolling flip kick, and then the 630. Petey wins with a destroyer on Lee. This was a good match. And this type of match should be happening at Bound for Glory for the title. But it's not. The title's not being defended. And there wasn't a lot to that six-man tag on this show. So I'm really confused about what this X Division title is and where it's going. Speaking of being confused, Gama Singh is a waste, man. And I know I seem really pessimistic and really angry about this show, but it wasn't good. And Gama Singh is such a waste. Singh versus Raju, nobody gave a damn. Not to mention this crowd was terrible, but nobody gave a damn. This has been one of the most poorly booked angles and stables of the year, and that's saying something in Impact Wrestling. I hope they can have a fantastic show at Bound for Glory like they did at Slammiversary, but they did that in spite of the booking. It wasn't something that was like the culmination of some great storylines. No, they did it in spite of the booking. Ba, Eddie, and Johnny Mundo, or Johnny Nitro, Impact cut a terrible promo backstage, and they had a match. Eddie, like they want him to be Ambrose so bad. Ba gets kicked off the second rope. There's the Starship Pain on Aries, but Cross pulls him out, does a Saito suplex on the floor to him. Moose powerbombs Eddie on the apron, while Aries deadlift brainbusters Johnny Impact for the win, and that's to get Aries a win before this. Aries has been the champion for a while. Came into the company this year, but I think he dug himself a little bit in a hole with some of his social media stuff because I think he thinks he's working, and maybe that's the way that he thinks he can do, but I mean, he's legitimately difficult to deal with in some situations. I mean, he's admitted as such. I don't know. If he gets by Sunday, he'll have the longest reign since Bobby Roode. He is sitting at 171 days right now. Lashley had 175. Although the show did air on tape delay a month and a half later. Whatever. Eli Drake makes an open challenge for New York. That's good. Leaves a question mark there since there is no question mark with Willie Mack. But the Willie Mack thing, I kind of understand. You want to promote him. Sure. King and Conan battled it out in the mic, and Conan spoke Spanish, which was a good move. He knew that crowd needed something to wake them up, and they really, really did, because it was not working, whatever was going on. He does the translation and calls King baby nuts, which is a great insult, a fantastic insult. Conan talks about G codes and maybe cuts the best promo of this feud that I thought was already really old, and it still is. But he cut the best promo I thought of this entire feud, and said the ceasefire is over, and they brawled to go off the air. That was good to give that a main event slot. Essentially, I was a big fan of that. And now we have Impact Wrestling Bound for Glory on Sunday. We will have a live post show. My predictions: Eli Drake against a mystery opponent. The mystery opponent or the open challenge will probably win. They have booked Eli Drake like trash this year. Rich Swann and a mystery partner, which is Willie Mack, against Ethan Page and Matt Sydal. I got to go with Willie Mack and Rich Swann. There's more upside there for him than Page in the ring, and Page is a fantastic personality. But yeah, Eddie Edwards and Moose. I would go with Moose at this point. Yeah, I'm going with Moose at this point because I think he can lead to Moose to an Impact, and I'm picking Johnny Impact over Austin Aries. I've changed my mind on that one recently with Aries winning last night. Cage, Pentagon Jr. and Phoenix against OVE. I think you should go with OVE, and then Pentagon or Phoenix should turn on Cage and set up an X Division feud there because your X Division title is on the line. You need more. Cage is going to be your baby face. That's how you want him. Or Cage can turn heel. And you got to fight from underneath because him as an X Division champion as a heel, I think, works really well too. Tessa Blanchard and Taya Valkyrie needs to be Tessa Blanchard, even though they would love to do the husband and wife champions thing. Fuck. LAX against the OGs. The young guys got to go over, and the young guys are LAX. So I'm picking them to go over. That's the right move. We do have a live post show. Very excited to do that. We do pretty good numbers for those. Let's talk about OVW 1000. I was so bummed I didn't get to go. But we'll talk about the results that happened there. Spoilers in case you all didn't know. Just skip ahead. King's Ransom defeated the Hernandez brothers. Tony Gunn defeated Brandon Wolf. Title tournament quarterfinals, Justin Smooth beat Tommy Dreamer. Billy Gunn defeated Randall Floyd. Jax Dane went to a draw with Crimson when Abyss, Eamon, and Crazy Steve interfered. Abyss defeated Shane Helms in the tournament. And then we went to Megan Monroe, Victoria, and ODB defeating the It Girls. There was a segment with the OVW founding fathers and Joe Wheeler, Rip Rogers, Jim Cornette, Dean Hill, and Danny Davis. The Team of Champions match was Team Cap, which is Rocco Bellagio, Tyler Matrix, Melvin Maximus, Michael Hayes, who I think a lot of personally and professionally. Randy Royal defeating Team Nova, which was Nova, Jay Bradley, Vaughn Lilas, Adam Revolver, and Paul Burchill. Man, it is great to see Paul Burchill in the ring. Justin Smooth defeated Billy Gunn in the tournament semifinal. Justin Smooth got beat by Abyss in the finals, so he becomes champion. That is cool to see. He is a local to the Northern Kentucky area. Open Mike Eagle with Mr. Anderson and Mick Foley defeated Shiloh Jones with Big D and DL3. Then they had an OVW 1000 Battle Royal. Eddie Knight won, defeating Ryan Howe from Tough Enough, Apollo, Big D, DL3, Ashton Cove, Mexicutioner, William Lutz, KTD, Big Zoe, Dapper Dan, Austin Gunn, who's Billy Gunn's son, Trent Ware, Sam Thompson, SK Evislage, Lucas, J. Bass Dimes, Colton Cage, and Dustin Jackson. You can get that show on Fight TV for $9.99. Also, a bit of non-WWE news. Revealed today that a special on November 3rd from the Chris Jericho Rock and Wrestling Rager at Sea will air on the Fight TV app. That's kind of cool. Like that. They needed to do that. The right move. The right move. Let's keep the non-WWE train rolling. NWA is pushing this Cody Rhodes, Willie Mack NWA title match. It's going to be on ROH. It was good. This 10 pounds of gold. Dave Lagana is so good at telling people stories, you guys. So good at telling people stories. This was really, really great. I've never seen Willie Mack talk like this. I've never seen Willie Mack really go into detail about his upbringing and his life and homelessness and his battle. And Nick Aldis really putting him over, and Cody Rhodes putting him over. Cody Rhodes saying, I faced him once and he took me to my limit to a point that made me uncomfortable. Maybe kind of indicating that he underestimated Willie Mack a little bit. Nick Aldis says he's not underestimating Willie Mack, saying that Willie Mack is as gifted as anybody he's seeing in the ring, or he's seen in the ring, and says that he could very well be facing Willie Mack. I like that. Said he's preparing for both guys. Good episode of this. I'm looking forward to 70th anniversary. It's going to be good. BTE, Kenny Omega and Ibushi are confronted by Arthur and what's their faces with their fingers out there. This was filmed in Long Beach, as the boys from Pro Wrestling Unlimited told us. SCU, there's this montage of them gambling and then waking up super hungover in Vegas. Okay. Omega gets messages from H about the Royal Rumble, about the number 3 or 4 spot, I think, and then about a dream match with AJ. And he says, I'll just put this in my back pocket, which I thought was funny. It looked like Cody Rhodes had been getting them too. He knocked on the door and he said, he was like, I have a surprise, blah, blah, blah. But Kenny forced him to show the slip. And Cody says, here you go. It was a Blue Chew coupon code. It was a surprise, but you've ruined it. Enjoy your soft dick. This is good. Of course, I got sent this by a lot of people as we are Blue Chew sponsored. That was good stuff. That was very funny. Young Bucks speculate that they could leave New Japan based on their walk around Tokyo. And there's a DDP yoga segment as well. That was funny. Ring of Honor. One would expect Kingdom to beat Coast to Coast, but ROH needs to establish new teams really badly, and I thought that's what they did here. There's a lot of fired up babyface stuff from Coast to Coast that I was like, all right, I get it. You guys are still kind of the young guys on the block, but do we need to do the, yeah, come on? That stuff doesn't age well. And Leon St. Giovanni's been around long enough to where he doesn't need to do that. I mean, they aren't really that new of a team. I mean, they've teamed up on and off for, years in Ring of Honor, but they've not had, like, the big push. But Shaheem Ali and LSG have been connected for a long time in Ring of Honor. It's just a matter of getting them wins. Because, I mean, last year they were getting beat by the Rebellion and Young Bucks and Tempura Boys and Kingdom. And they got beat by everybody except in dark matches. They got beat by the Cabinet and all these people. It was time to give them the win against Kingdom. LSG does his top rope cannonball, and Ali got the win on one of the slowest roll-ups I ever saw. If I was Orion, I wouldn't have taken that pin, or I can't remember if it was Orion or Marseglia, but whatever. It doesn't matter. I wouldn't have done it. I would have said, let's go to something else. This sucks. Kingdom beat up a bunch of refs because they got to get the heats back. You know, Kingdom's got to have their heat. ROH's ring was very loud. Now, there's a little trick to this. Depending on how a ring is constructed, sometimes on the independent circuit especially, there are a couple different kinds of rings. You'll run across a ring that's made with 2x4s. They're a lot stiffer. That's how most major rings are done. Or you'll run into rings that are made by big, long slabs of plywood. They're thinner than 2x4s. They have more give. They're also much louder because sometimes they'll bow up and they'll crash against the steel beams that you're wrestling on, essentially. Steel beams, then plywood, then your layer of padding, then the canvas over top of that. So a lot of times that'll make noise. This ring, for whatever reason, I'm positive it wasn't plywood. I'm positive it was lumber, but it was really loud. Now, one of the tricks you hear in that, if you have somebody in the ring, you throw them in a headlock, you're not going to do the old X-Pac stomp, 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 stomp if you're in a loud ring. The reason for that is when you're wrestling in a ring like that and you're loud and it's loud, you want to maximize that loudness. You want to make that loudness mean something. People are going to hear it a lot, but they're really going to hear it when you fall. So you don't want to take a lot of steps in the ring. You want to limit that. That way, you're not making as much noise on that ring. And when you take that bump, people identify that sound and they go, damn, that was loud. If you're doing it and you're grinding away and you're pivot, 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 step, 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 they're going to hear crash, 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 crash. Then when you do a big move, it won't seem as big, if that makes any sense. Loud ring. Helms versus Skrull, I got to give Shane credit. I mean, he has been able to do some great stuff this year, and I complimented him on this match. And he said, he told me, I like Marty a lot. If I was a bit younger, we'd be effing tearing the house down. I thought they did great in this match. Skrull fakes a handshake. Shane has a nice suplex on him, a real nice vertical suplex on him. He does a tornado, or he gets a tornado DDT done to him in a backstabber. Like, he's not letting up on the bumps that he's taking, which I admire, man. I think it's great that Shane is still so aggressive with stuff like that. Helms hooks up a little bit. Skrull does the Ghostbuster, which is the pump handle neck breaker. He tries to do a tornado DDT to Skrull outside the ring, but or Skrull tries to do a tornado DDT to Helms outside the ring. Helms catches him, does an overhead Northern Light suplex release. It was great. But Skrull stops the Helms neck breaker from the top rope and ends up doing a superplex, but Helms almost pins him. Skrull goes right in the penis on Helms and does the Eye of the Hurricane to Shane, but Helms kicks out and does the choke slam. And then Helms wins by countering the La Magistral Cradle. Good. And it makes sense to go to this a third time, and they will do that. So I like that. It is a nice little mini feud to find for Marty Skrull until you find something different for him. You find something in a main event level. Bring in a guy who used to be a top merch seller. Why not? Why not go that route? Why not go with a tried and true formula? I think it makes all the sense in the world. All the sense in the world. And for Marty Skrull, you got the natural villain versus hero storyline. I think it's a smart idea. Cheeseburger comes out, fight without honor against Will Ferrara, his former tag team partner. Cheeseburger out in that fresh white gear, eh? I like it. One thing I didn't notice was the ring, because I would have made a comment about that contrasting. So let me look. I think they switched back to a black ring. They did. They switched back to a black ring already, which I think is weird. You need a contrast. Need a contrast. We'll talk more about weird in a minute. We're going to talk some news. I like to cover a lot of non-WWE news here as well. This is kind of a clever main event, but I do wonder what a casual fan would think switching by the TV and turning it on and seeing Cheeseburger. Whatever, he's different. I'm okay with that. Why not? I like that Ian didn't advocate Cheeseburger choking Will Ferrara with the belt. He didn't want to be a hypocrite. And I like that. I can respect that. It is an objective opponent and or an objective commentator. Sorry about that. I keep getting sent stuff from my team, and I keep thinking it's a panic. It's not. I like that Ian was going to be an objective commentator here, essentially. Good stuff. They took turns whipping each other with a belt. Rhett Titus runs in after Cheeseburger accidentally Shote palm strikes a chair and drop kicks the chair in Will Ferrara's face. Will Ferrara can't win with a DDT on a chair, or I think Cheeseburger couldn't win with a DDT on a chair. But as Titus runs in, Rhett Titus, Eli Isom, and Ryan Nova help put Titus through the table at ringside. Ferrara has a chain wrapped around his hand and accidentally punches the chair. And then a Shote palm strike wins the fight without honor. So yeah, they're able to construct these to where matches like this can headline. And I like that on TV. Like, why not? Why not? Not a main event I'm particularly interested in, but hey, different strokes. Lucha Underground. Aya is sacrificed when she comes out and complains. And, Matanza is the person doing the sacrificing, so to speak. Johnny Mundo comes out and helps hit Starship Pain, saves her. Yeah, sure. We have Mil Muertes and Ray Phoenix, or just Dark Phoenix, essentially, teaming up against Aztec. Let me just, before we even get into anything, I'm over the moon about Mil Muertes and Phoenix. This is great. Great. The Mac and Dragon Azteca teaming up. I like that too. But Mil Muertes and Phoenix in this Tornado Tag Team match, boy, do I love Ray Phoenix and Mil Muertes teaming up. That is something different. I'm not used to it. I see the Lucha Brothers all the time. But I don't see Mil Muertes and Phoenix all the time. And Mil Muertes, man, he ain't getting any younger. He could use a guy like Phoenix. I'd bring Muertes in, Ricky Banderas. I don't care what you call him. Call him Judas Macias. Bring him back as Judas Macias. Do it. Don't care. I like it. Mac is so agile. I'm glad he's getting more of a spotlight between NWA and Impact Wrestling and this as well. He also gets beaten up by Mil. Mil and Phoenix work together quite a bit. Azteca hits this beautiful pop-up DDT that I really liked. He and Phoenix worked great together. The fire driver and a flatliner in stereo won the match. I'm all for this. Famous B came out of retirement. Kind of. He came out and talked some trash, and he's got Brenda. Ricky Mundo shows up, and he looks a lot like Johnny Mundo. So much like Johnny Mundo. And he immediately beats up Famous B and beats him. Then he breaks Brenda in half with a crossface. We'll see where this goes, but I'm not particularly interested in it. It was my least interesting thing on this entire broadcast so far. So there you have that. Chelsea Green, whose name is Reclusa in Lucha Underground, fought Pentagon Jr., and this match ruled. I'm not a big intergender wrestling guy. I prefer it more in Lucha Underground than other places. But Chelsea looks good here. She fits here. She hung with Pentagon. Pentagon let her hang with him a little bit because he had to help her a couple times. But, I mean, that was on spots where, anybody like that would need help. Where some guys are going to need help. So she gets her ass kicked real bad by Pentagon. She's thrown all over the arena and beaten down. She does this beautiful diving Hurricane Rana from the top to the outside and Tornado DDT. This is one of her best matches, really. Does an incredible spinning DDT, and she kicks out of the Pentagon driver. She's package pile driven on the apron and somehow kicks out of that. I don't know. She does the Canadian Destroyer. Eats a lung blower and a package pile driver, and Pentagon wins. I know that Chelsea's been working out at the Performance Center. I don't know if she's been signed yet. I don't know if she can. I don't know what her contractual status is. She plays that very close to the vest, and she's not going to ruin her chances. She wasn't picked up by Tough Enough after Tough Enough a few years ago, and I was surprised by that. It's very obvious they liked her and wanted her to do well in that. And I know WWE had interest in her once they saw her range as Laurel Van Ness, and she's got friends in a lot of right places. I mean, she dates Zack Ryder, and not that that has anything to do with it. They would be interested in her if she didn't date Zack Ryder, but I know she's made a lot of the right impressions in WWE, and a lot of people there speak very, very highly of Chelsea Green. New Japan talent, considering WWE as an option because the morale is weird. Dave Meltzer has said that it's some uncertainty about what will happen next and less confidence in with the old administration because, quite frankly, the booking in New Japan has been questionable. And the head of talent relations, Dave Meltzer, says maybe the most unpopular guy among wrestlers with the new regime. George Carroll isn't there anymore, and they liked George Carroll. Figure about that what you want, but I mean, I've been told that the wrestlers, especially the English language speaking wrestlers, really liked George Carroll, and there are a lot of people that are thinking about WWE, but I mean, people like Tama Tonga probably not. He butters his bread there. And he says, funny reading that a lot of foreign performers are complaining about the work atmosphere not being fun in New Japan. What a load of shit. Plenty of great talents out there that would be grateful to have an opportunity to work in New Japan. Who fed you those lies, Meltzer? New president and management helping the company gain sponsorship and international expansion. What a time to be a part of New Japan. Traveling, big money, company growing. Yeah, bitch. Us foreigners that have been here and worked our asses off are very proud of how far we've came. So the foreigner or foreigners complaining to Dave Meltzer they're not having fun, you can get the fuck out. I've never in my career here in New Japan have ever heard of a Japanese wrestler complaining about the work atmosphere not being fun. In New Japan. Get the fuck out of here. Sometimes I wonder if Kota Ibushi knows that he's way better than Kenny Omega and should be the face of the company, but is being used by his best friend as leverage for his own selfish needs. And Kenny Omega responds saying, dang, I shouldn't have called you out for the Freddy Krueger act. Personally, I like it when you say bitch a lot. I guess entry-level a salary can't afford multiple fines a year, huh? Let's hope those Funko Pop sales help ease the burden during the holiday season. Oh, wait. And Tama Tonga says, no, you're fine. You know I love me a little competition. Just don't run to your boyfriend Dave Meltzer crying about it, how it's not fun anymore, bitch. Oops. Could be quite a storyline, whether it's a work or a shoot. It's interesting no matter what. Better booking than what New Japan has done themselves in some regards. To where we are, major changes to the Fightful injury report. Of course, you guys know where to go and head over and check out the Fightful injury report. Fightful.com. Just type in Fightful injury report into Google. It'll pop up. Alexa Bliss injured her arm on 9/17. She was pulled from the mixed match challenge. We're told it's not severe. She's cleared to go. Sasha Banks pulled from a mixed match challenge due to a back injury. I'm told it's not serious. Was told that all along. Torn ACL for Samir Singh. He is still sidelined until the fall. Jason Jordan recovering from neck surgery. He has started working as a producer. Return unknown. Fandango tore his left labrum in early July. He's sidelined until late 2018. That is an update from the early 2019 rumor that we had heard, but it still could be that long. He says he's about halfway done. Double shoulder surgery for Sami Zayn in June. He's targeting a WrestleMania season return in 2019. Big one, the big update. Kevin Owens set for knee surgery this month. He is set to miss 4 to 8 months. That means that's a while. Could be February to June. That's rough. That hurts. That's a tough one. He was written off of programming by being attacked by Bobby Lashley and what people thought was a double turn. And sure, it kind of was, but got him off TV. He will be missed. He will be missed, especially Survivor Series season and Royal Rumble season, where so many of your wrestlers are in one match and you need some depth on the card. He's going to be real missed there. Double knee surgery for Goldust in July, expected to return in 2019. He says the end of his career is nearing, and understandably so. I mean, how long has he been at it? 2019 comeback. He had his first match that I can find a record of in 1988. Like the first match listed is September 13th, 1988. So we're talking 30 years. 30 years. And he was in WCW a couple months after that. So yeah, I would say it is winding down. It would be nice to see him extended into 2020 because he could go 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, 2020s and wrestle across 5 decades. I think that would be very cool and very special. Not just that, but wrestle on national TV across that as well. That'd be very cool. Over on SmackDown, Becky Lynch working through a cracked jaw, according to Dave Meltzer, the Wrestling Observer newsletter. Rowan tore his right bicep in August, expected back in spring 2019. Tamina out of action following shoulder surgery. She's said to have torn a rotator cuff. I'm told that she wanted to get in the best shape of her life after this, so we'll see how that goes. But I don't know. Bobby Fish tore his ACL and MCL earlier this year in March. He went under surgery. His expected return is in the fall, but he has resumed television physical activity. Aleister Black sidelined with a groin injury late July that required surgery. Returned to TV, but expected to return to the ring this fall. Tino Sabatelli tore his pec in late April, required surgery out until early next year, as is Riddick Moss, who tore his Achilles in mid-April. Eric Bugenhagen has a concussion, no timetable on his return. Sanjay Dutt tore his right Achilles tendon. His return is currently unknown. Rosemary expected back early next year. She has an undisclosed knee injury from early February that she worked through. If somebody's been out this long, you would be inclined to believe that that is an ACL injury. Just speculation. Speaking of, that's the same boat that Hikuleo of the firing squad would be in. The big Tongan, the biggest Tongan, I should say. Shibata subdural hematoma. His in-ring return is unlikely. Kenny Omega announced he was working with a fractured rib. Hiromu Takahashi had the title, the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title, stripped from him after landing on his neck on July 7th in California. He is back in Japan, will not require surgery. Tennille Dashwood will require surgery, however, sidelined until next year. Shoulder injury. That is a big hit to the Ring of Honor women's division. I've added an others section. If you all know of indie wrestlers that are sidelined, let's add them. Let people know when they might be back. Joey Janela says he's sidelined for up to a year after a September 2018 knee injury. Let's hope all of these people get well soon. We want them to be able to make a good living. So we'll be able to talk about them in a much more positive light on the Fightful Select Weekender podcast because a lot of these people are non-WWE. But I got a lot of WWE news today, actually, in the Fightful Wrestling Weekly. Again, our friends at Pro Wrestling Unlimited cover this and do such a great job of it. But last Saturday, WWE confirmed to Fightful.com that the venue for Crown Jewel was changed from the King Fahd International Stadium to the King Saud University Stadium. King Fahd held about 68,752, while King Saud Stadium only about 25,000. That is not a positive thing. I was told it wasn't due to slow ticket sales. They'd not got on sale as of yet. My request for comment went unreturned beyond the confirmation that the thing had been moved, but Andrew Thompson actually spotted that change, so thanks to him. Super Showdown, WWE had a really strict cutoff time of whatever it was in Australia. It was 9 a.m. Eastern here. And the Miz Daniel Bryan match was supposed to be short anyway, but had a few minutes cut from it as well. I'm told that WWE only flew over those who needed to be there. And some who expected to be flown over were surprised that they weren't. WWE isn't making the amount of money on the Australian show they were for the Saudi Arabia deal, so it was not an all-hands-on-deck situation. And several people who weren't even on the greatest Royal Rumble event were brought over, while mainly only the people competing on the show were sent to Australia or that they needed, and I think they had a few people for backups. Vince McMahon was not there. Kevin Dunn and Triple H were in charge of the show, and everybody considered it a success. WWE actually changed out the canvas before the main event, and they had something like 3 there tied down just in case as an insurance policy. Had several wrestlers who told me they were watching UFC 229. One group of NXT wrestlers told me they were watching Derek Lewis, and he was a huge hit. And everyone came out of their seat for the Alexander Volkov knockout that Lewis landed. So there was a big moment there, and that there was mayhem in the room, and they loved it. There was mayhem in the room during the main event, but the most excited they were was the love for Derek Lewis over the "his balls was hot" promo. Anthony Pettis versus Tony Ferguson was another popular fight among the wrestlers, so I always like talking to them about that. And this was a transcendent event that everybody was watching. So many of my pro wrestling connections were watching this fight, so that's a good move for UFC at least. WWE issued some members of the media, not us, just in case you're wondering, SmackDown 1000 commemorative rings that are made up to look like the SmackDown's Women's Championship with SmackDown 1000 across the bottom and engraving on the back. This is used essentially as WWE shop promotion, so maybe some of them will post pictures. It's pretty common among wrestling promotions. Lucha Underground has sent out masks before, and WGN's themed funeral show sent out shovels, I think. Also, during Super Showdown, WWE issued a full-on press release announcing that AJ Styles would be at Crown Jewel defending the title against Daniel Bryan. They don't usually do this. Definitely not for something involving those two. And that excludes historical announcements like the Women's Royal Rumble or, any first time ever moments that they do, usually gender related. You know what I'm saying? You get the drift. But they really wanted to push this. When Rey Mysterio was announced for SmackDown 1000, they just sent me a link. But they wanted to they wanted to make this show seem as big as possible. And that's why they were pushing it. Now, to the contrary, WWE sent me a link to GIF images this week as well to announce their partnership with Jiffy, the GIF company, not the peanut butter. So, I mean, that's a pretty good way to tell when WWE wants something out there is if they send you a full press release about it. To follow up on last week's news, New Japan and Access were significantly more detached. I'm told that there was has more to do with the recent regime changes in New Japan Wrestling than it does on the Access side of things. Access told Pro Wrestling Unlimited that they haven't been told of any involvement or in next month's Young Lions shows, something they would generally know about by now. In the past, Access has been very transparent with media when they don't have a deal locked down to air a certain New Japan show. On the other side of things, promotion was heavy with the Women of Wrestling tapings, with in-person interviews, credentials provided, and several members of the talent roster making appearances locally in LA. They're going to have a big media push ahead of their January 2019 premiere. I interviewed Tom Lawler. He was on fire during that interview, and I'll have a couple of things in the weekly on him. He was noticeably peeved, but still pleasant. But I spoke to him ahead of the MLW tapings, fresh off the news of John Jones USADA's suspension, and considering his issues, being Lawler, with USADA, he was reasonably passionate about everything. And you got to feel for him. You definitely do, especially when he talks about it. I'd recommend listening to that. He talked to me about getting connected with MLW, which, contrary to popular belief, wasn't his first run in pro wrestling. He had matches in the mid-2000s. Said that he was pleasantly surprised with the opportunity presented to him after such little time on the indie circuit, and said the relationship is going well thus far. In MMA, he was known for his colorful entrances. The Shockmaster, Hulk Hogan, Dan Severn, the Just Bleed guy, lots of them. Harold Howard, all kinds of cool stuff. And he said that oftentimes it'd be something you'd throw together last moment at a thrift store, which is kind of cool. We also spoke to Jay Lethal about the growth of Ring of Honor, and he said that while they're experiencing leaps of growth, he attributes some of that to the fact that wrestling is in a boom period as a whole. and says that they are benefiting from that. And he credited the roster and says that they're able to find new puzzle pieces that fit every single time that somebody leaves, and points to Mark Haskins as a guy that can really be a puzzle piece that can slide in when other people go. You know, like a Punishment Martinez. They're losing people a lot. Guys, Fightful Select Weekender Podcast. If there's anything else non-WWE you want me to approach on this, I will. I do talk some WWE that's in the Weekender or the weekly, but this is largely a non-WWE podcast, and we want to give you all that stuff. So hit me up. Don't know if I can add any more reviews to my slate, but I can talk news. So hit me up. Let me know. Thank you, guys. Most importantly, let the other people know that you all like the Weekender podcast. We're out.